our latest edition of Off the Wall, a digital series presented by Bridgman Images that invites you into the studios and minds of artists and creators who are pushing the boundaries of where art might be found, off the gallery walls and into unexpected spaces. Bridgman Images is a global leader in licensing art, culture, and history. We work with a wide spectrum of content partners, from national museums and private collections to independent artists and estates, ensuring that their work reaches new audiences through publishing, TV and film, design, advertising, and more. We're thrilled to be joined today by the acclaimed British artist Rebecca Campbell, live from her London studio. Rebecca is the in-house artist and ambassador for the conservation charity Elephant Family, which protects Asia's wildlife and ancient migration routes, a partnership that earned her the prestigious Terra Award from Their Majesties the King and Queen. In this special session, Rebecca will share how her work travels off the wall, moving into design, public art, and charitable projects. We'll chat about her creative process and how she uses art to connect with people and causes that she's passionate about. Please hold your questions until the end, but submit them throughout the session, where at the end, Rebecca will be delighted to answer as many as she can in a live Q&A session. So let's get started with Rebecca Campbell.
Hello, welcome to my studio.
So I wanted to start at the beginning because you grew up in the Irish countryside where you were surrounded by a menagerie of animals and beautiful gardens. And I wanted to know how that environment influenced your early artistic language.
I think hugely, just because for a start, all the colours, the natural colours, and being with wildlife and things. And I was very lucky, and my mother actually painted. She was a botanical artist, so I've always grown up looking at art. And also in Ireland, incredible gardens, which have played a huge part in my paintings, and seeing the design, the layout, things like that as well.
And it's
So,
my understanding that that also translated to your brother as well and his interest in the art industry.
oh, my brother-in-law,
Oh.
yes, yeah,
So
yeah.
it runs in the family. Yeah. But you,
Yeah. No, he's an art dealer, but my sister's very creative as well. She makes soft toys, but she used to do ceramics. She's a cook, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of creativity in the family.
lovely. But you originally started as an illustrator, and it was Jonathan Cooper, whose eponymous gallery you're now represented by, that discovered your work. Could you tell me a little bit about how that came about?
Yeah, I mean, that was miraculous. I actually sent something into a local magazine who published it, and Jonathan Cooper lives in the same borough and saw it and phoned me up and talked about underselling myself. I was like, oh, I don't do paintings because I was an illustrator and I was painting furniture and doing murals. And he very sweetly said, oh, I'll be the judge of that, and asked me to produce some work. And I went and saw him, and yeah, he gave me a show. And that was in 2002, and I've been with him ever since. And I've got a show coming up with him next week. So yeah, very, very lucky.
How interesting. And so now, having made that transition, how do you think you would define the difference between fine art and illustration?
Um, I think that's quite a tricky one because when I was doing illustration at art school, all the fine artists used to kind of look down on the illustrators because oh, we were commercial. So it's quite funny entering the fine art world, but I still feel that my work has a huge sort of design quality about it, which is probably more illustrative. So maybe I straddle both worlds.
Well, I mean, your art is very whimsical and joyful
Yes.
and colorful. Do you think that in a world increasingly being dominated by gritty realism and politically inflected art, that a joyful aesthetic is undervalued?
Um, I don't know. I think in some ways people are relishing it more because you know it's so bleak now. And you know, I just kind of laugh and say, well, I paint fluffy bunny rabbits, and I feel very privileged to be able to do that. And of course, it's you know, it's very important for artists to highlight what terrible things are going on, but for some reason, I seem to have latched onto nature and seeing the joy in the world, I think, is important.
Like, having seen those different scenes, a lot of your work is rooted in memory and travel.
Yeah.
And so how are you able to capture a fleeting moment or a grand landscape where you travel a lot for your work and you're inspired by animals that maybe you'll catch for a quick second or a huge expansive landscape in Kenya or India. How do you translate that into a sense of permanence on a canvas or an object?
So I take quite a lot of photographs when I travel. I don't necessarily sit down and do big landscape paintings or anything like that, but I do take, a book like this, and I will just make little boxes. I don't
And
know if you can
inside the
see, yeah,
maybe.
things like that. And so I can just plan out landscapes into my paintings and things that I've seen from photographs.
Well, it's interesting because even the structure of your studies here really mirrors some of the form that it ultimately takes in a lot of your canvases.
Absolutely. So I'm kind of working out the
So it's
paintings as
already
I'm
running
going.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting. So you touched on Jonathan Cooper, and
yeah.
you have an upcoming exhibition, Good Tree Can Lodge 10,000 Birds,
Yes.
which is opening next week.
Next Wednesday.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And that came about based on your residency in the foothills of Mount Kenya.
That's right. Yes.
Um, how did that landscape translate into paper? Because you said that you take photographs. Was there anything different about that specific residency and living in that
Yeah,
environment?
because normally I paint in oils, but I spoke to one or two people and they said the trouble with Africa, there's just insects get stuck in the paint and transporting them when they're wet and all the rest of it. So I decided to take just a pen and watercolors, which I hadn't worked in before. And then I got out there and I was completely sort of like, oh my God, where do I start? And I just fell in love with the trees. So I thought that was a good place to start. So I would just, yeah, do these pen and watercolors of the trees with elephant, a herd of elephants
Mm.
wandering through or whatever. And I actually showed Jonathan the work when I got back and he loved them. So this show is the first time. And it's down to him again that he's given me the show of watercolors.
We were very lucky to get a little bit of a sneak preview. This is
So
a bit
yeah,
of a study from
yeah, this
the
was
series as well.
yeah, just an idea of drawing trees. So I haven't concentrated on the trees from Kenya. My whole show is lots of different trees, and then different animals going through. These were actually done for a company called Good Earth, and they
Mm.
asked me to do some endangered species. So yeah, lots of different things. Whale shark.
Which I'm
That's not in the
so that
exhibition.
you were able to capture
No,
with a photography.
no.
Well, I guess if you're described as a narrative artist, is there ever a tension between what you want to say in a painting, or if there's a client brief or a commercial partner and they have maybe a different sense of what they'd like to portray? How do you navigate that if there's ever a tension?
Um, I think potentially commissions are quite good because they
Mm.
quite often push you out of your comfort zone and make you do things that you wouldn't necessarily want to do. But it's finding a way that that will work with your work and hopefully keep the client happy. And sometimes it pushes you and that brings something new to you. And then, it might push you to do something else different in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Especially, you touched on your collaboration with Good Earth there,
Yeah.
and also you've collaborated with Globetrotter.
Globetrotter, and this is in conjunction with Elephant Family. And actually, this is my second collaboration with them. And they have done this range specifically for Elephant Family, and a percentage of their sales will go to the charity. And they selected one of my paintings to put inside, and I think they've done it so
That's
beautifully.
beautiful.
Um,
What does it mean to you for your art to be brought into people's daily lives by way of putting your work on functional objects?
Um, I think it's a lovely thing to do, especially doing public art. I mean, I've been very lucky with Elephant Family, for example. There are, I think, 210 elephants all over London in 2010. And I think for the public to really engage and see what different artists did on the different elephants,
Mm.
so it becomes much more of a dialogue. I think that's really exciting.
And what about when people are tangibly able to use your objects and that kind of exists within their daily lives, whether it's luggage,
Yeah,
or I know you've done
good.
a fantastic
Yeah,
collaboration of
this was
ceramic.
with Good Earth. And I think that's an amazing thing that somebody's got that in their kitchen and might be having, a dinner party or something, and they're eating off something really, really beautiful. I think that's fantastic.
Do you think that that viewers then are digesting your work, and I don't mean literally because it's a plate, but in a different way, or than seeing it on their walls?
I think yes, I think, design is so important to embellish people's lives and things.
Mm-hmm.
I think William Morris was the big advocate of that.
Yes.
And I think that's translated all the way down to us now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very lucky that people seem to like my work. And it brings, a bit of humor and things. Yeah.
Lovely. You've worked with both charity and luxury brands and partners. How do you reconcile the difference between nonprofit work and commercial work in your practice?
Um, I mean, the charity work, I mostly work for Elephant Family.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's my own personal thing. I've always loved elephants since I was little. And this is something I can do for them. And it's just sort of organically grown that I can do the artwork for them. And to me, that's really pleasing and it raises money and all the rest of it. Working for a luxury goods company, yeah, I mean, it's a whole different realm and things, but actually, they employ a lot of people and it's generating a lot of work. And that gives me, that makes me feel good too. Yeah.
That they both have their
Different ways of benefiting, I think. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
With you touched on Elephant Family a little bit, but that's a specifically special role because you're their in-house artist and ambassador. Could you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about how you first got involved and why the work they were doing was important to you? I know you spoke a little bit about
Yeah.
as a kid, but learning more about their mission statement, why that resonated, and how that
Yeah.
came about.
So actually, it first happened in the 1990s. I actually went to a talk at the RGS given by Mark Shand, who I didn't know, but he bought and rode this elephant across India and wrote a book about it. And a very charismatic man, amazing speech, talk. But it also during this made him realise the plight of the Asian elephant. So he set up Elephant Family, I think, in the early 2000s. I can't say I was so courageous. I did nothing.
Um,
But I got an email from them in 2009, and I think they saw my work through Jonathan Cooper and asked if I'd like to paint an elephant. I mean, how could you not want to paint an elephant? And it was these sculptures, life-size sculptures. So that's how I initially got involved. And then they've always done incredibly creative campaigns. So they've asked me to take part in each campaign. And then in 2015, I mean, I was blown away, but they asked me to be an ambassador. And my work sort of fits very well with their message, I think. And for me, I was very lucky. I saw elephants in the wild when I was traveling in India and things. They just hold a very special place in my heart. So yeah, it was just a magical fit. And I really believe in what they're trying to do. And it's about coexistence as well as conservation and things.
especially on the campaigns you touched on, they've really taken a different approach.
Definitely.
Why do you think it's important to use creativity to raise awareness?
I think Elephant Family, I mean, they have a phenomenal person called Ruth Ganesh, and it's her creative sort of genius of coming up with these campaigns over the few years. And it's a way of engaging people, but artists tell their own stories and they can bring their, it translates.
Mhm.
And I think the public really engage in all of that.
Mhm.
And then through that, they see the message that is trying to be portrayed. Um, and she's just taken a whole load of elephants made out of lantana, which is an
Mhm.
invasive weed that has grown in the south of India. And this tribe in India is now making these beautiful sculptures. And she's just taken 100 of these sculptures across America, which is an amazing way, again, to interact with the people. And they suddenly think, what on earth is all these elephants doing in the middle of New York?
Well, now they've
But
become
she's
very
done it.
recognizable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So it's just trying to think outside the box. There are so many charities trying to think of so many different ways of getting people's attention. But I think that, doing really creative campaigns has been such a clever thing.
well, and I guess on that side of public art, that these elephants that have such an important message behind it, and they're also visually, like I said, very recognizable and very shocking in a sense that it's in a cityscape,
Yes.
but very beautiful. How does going back to your work in public art, what does it mean for you, and why do you think it's important to provide public art um, to the masses, and what do you get from that versus a traditional gallery exhibition?
I think a lot of people find galleries quite intimidating to go into. And also, if you go into a gallery, you probably feel pressurized. It's about spending money, and it can be intimidating. So I think if you've got art on the street, then anybody can come up and look at things. So I think there's an immediacy to that, um, and an engagement and things and different conversations. And at times I've been asked to go and stand by the elephant. I painted all the egg this year, and it's amazing how many people will come and talk to you and genuinely interested and a different appreciation, I think.
That's fantastic. Have you discovered a lot of different artists through public art or
Oh
other
yeah.
artists working with the elephant family?
I know, definitely. I've met so many amazing, amazing people. Yeah, no, it's been wonderful.
Well, touching on the migration of these elephant structures, and a lot of the work that we've seen here is very much inspired by the natural world. You live and work in London here, which of course is a global art hub and
Yes.
provides different inspiration. Um, how does it influence your work when we know so much of it is inspired by nature?
Luckily, I look over a park, so that's something.
Well, we're less elephants though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
less elephants, yeah. I know it is a bit nuts living in London, especially I grew up in the countryside. I love the countryside. But there's something very compelling about London. And you're right, we're lucky we've got lots of green spaces and this, that, and the other. And I think it's, for me, I love living here. I like the vitality of it, working here and things like that. But it's a great place then you can just disappear off and so many different places. Whereas I think if I was down in Cornwall, it'd be quite hard to just, jump on a plane to India or something.
Sure. Have you ever been inspired to turn your subject matter more to urban life?
Um, I have, but I did do one painting of skyscrapers with gardens on top. So I suppose that's
It
the
obviously
closest.
a tie-in.
Yeah.
And your aesthetic is very recognizable, very joyful, very colorful. Do you ever fear your work becoming a brand? And how do you ensure that your artistic voice remains your own?
I mean, in some ways, I have to laugh what you've just said because when I, no, 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 because when I left art school, I came out and I thought I would fly. And I trained as an illustrator. I can't tell you, I was just rejected all the time because I had too many different styles. And now I seem to have developed a style partly because of Jonathan Cooper, actually. He saw something in this magazine and he said, I want this in this sort of style that you've done. So that's how it's developed from there. I mean, I'd like to think my style is developing all the
Mm.
time, but it has become recognizable. But I'm also, I consider myself a working artist. I have to earn a living, and I
Absolutely.
feel very, very lucky to be doing what I'm doing, and to be still going actually.
And going strong.
I'm going strong this week.
But even when you spoke earlier about working with brand partners and being pushed to think in new avenues and perhaps look at different subjects or look at different styles,
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic way um, to affirm that you are indeed an artist and not a brand.
Oh, well, that's very nice to hear. Thank you.
Um, looking forward, what kinds of projects and collaborations excite you right now? Are there any different formats that you're eager to explore?
I think it would be really fun to do textiles.
Yes, I would
Um,
love to see your work on textiles.
so things like that. Yeah, I'm open to anything. Carpets. I don't know, lots of different things. Working with Good Earth has been amazing. I hope to work with them again. Actually, we're in talks, so we'll see. Um, but I'm open to anything. Yeah.
And as an artist, you take it as you come. Well,
Yeah.
that's ultimately everything that I wanted to touch on. So perhaps we could open up to the Q&A, but I wanted to
Sure.
say thank you for so eloquently telling us more about your background and
Oh,
what you're
you're
looking forward
kind.
to.
Thank you.
Um,
Okay.
Lovely from our producer.
Thank you.
Um, Great. So from Connor, which artists, past or present, inspire you the most?
I have to say the biggest impact I think was Henry Russo.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see that.
Um, I just think his sense of colour, compositions, yeah, everything about him. Oh, and Giotto actually.
Uh, so less of an obvious comparison, but
Yeah, but I just remember the first time Giotto really
mm,
switched me on to art. I remember seeing him a postcard of his St. Francis feeding the birds. I'm just seeing such a simple format, and because my parents dragged me around, god awful art galleries with really heavy paintings, and I just thought this is painting. So yeah,
oh, interesting. And do you still return to those artists
yes,
today?
yeah,
You
absolutely,
go to the National Gallery, and
yeah,
there
yeah.
are there specific paintings by them that really evoke some sort of emotion or inspiration for you?
I think it is the surprise Rousseau's painting.
Mm.
I mean, it just you can just get so lost in it for hours and hours and hours, and yeah,
It's such a
and the
special ability to
vegetation and
find something
yes,
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And then we have another question from Helen. What advice would you give to emerging artists trying to find their own voice?
Good luck. Um, just you have to keep going.
Mhm.
There'll be endless rejections, all the rest of it. But if it's really what you want to do, you will make it happen. Yeah, you just have to keep going.
Oh, lovely. And final question from Kelly. What's the strangest or most unexpected place you've ever found inspiration?
Oh, good question. That's thrown me.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Should have written that.
Strangest place. Oh, I've gone completely blank.
I suppose when you're traveling, though, look for in you look for inspiration all around you. So it
Yeah,
must just kind of, when you're so open to inspiration, because so much of your work is travel based, that you, I'm assuming you can't pinpoint anything because you're always open.
I guess so. Well, that's very fine for you to say. Yeah, I think so. I mean, things trigger all the time. Well, hopefully. I find deadlines help as well.
Really, yeah.
I can't function without deadlines.
What's a
So,
good thing that you're a freelancer?
yeah.
Or an artist. But well, thank you so much for that. This has really been a pleasure.
All right.
And
Well, no, thank you so much for asking me.
it's always a pleasure to be able to promote our artists, especially an artist like Rebecca Campbell that has such special work and is doing such great work with your art.
Oh, well, thank you.
And so thanks again. And do, if you're in London, look into Jonathan Cooper
Yes,
Gallery. A Good Tree Can Lodge 10,000 Birds, opening next week.
in
And
Chelsea.
in Chelsea. And stay tuned for what I'm sure will be many, many collaborations and projects upcoming for you. Thank you all for tuning in, and we look
Thank
forward
you.
to seeing you next time.
Bye-bye.